Imagine waking up to the gentle motion of the ocean aboard a sailboat under 40 feet, and knowing you can sail it by yourself. You might think you need a 50-foot yacht to feel at home under sail, but several smaller cruisers prove that size isn't everything. In this video, we're looking at 7 tried-and-true blue water cruisers under 40 feet that many people do live on solo. This is not an exhaustive list, but just a few good sailboats. I know some of you have owned far much better boats, and I would like to hear your experience in the comment section. Anyway, I'll talk about 7 sailboats, their stability and motion offshore, how their layouts and systems suit living aboard, and what surveyors and owners say about maintenance. Along the way, we'll sprinkle in actual price figures from current listings and sales. The last thing we want is surprising sticker shock. By the end, you'll have a grounded sense of what $50,000 or $150,000 buys you in the live aboard world under 40 feet. Let's get started with Island Packet 35. The Island Packet 35 is often described the same way, over and over again. Rock solid. Built between 1988 and 1994, it's a full-keel cutter designed by Bob Johnson. Displacement is about 17,500 pounds, with roughly 8,000 pounds of ballast. That weight matters. It's what gives the boat its signature motion offshore, slow, predictable, and forgiving. This is not a twitchy boat. It doesn't snap roll. It doesn't feel nervous. Reviewers consistently describe it as stable and comfortable, especially for its size. For solo handling, Island Packet made smart choices. The cutter rig means you can work with smaller headsails. Many owners sail primarily on the staysail, which shortens the sail plan and keeps loads manageable. Roller furling makes it easy to reduce sail without leaving the cockpit, and the high freeboard gives you confidence moving forward when you do have to go on deck. One of the most loved features is the cockpit windshield and dodger. It's not flashy, but when the weather turns ugly, it keeps water and wind off you, which matters a lot when you're alone. Inside, the IP35 feels bigger than it should. Nearly 12 feet of beam allows wide settees, lots of lockers, and a layout that works for long-term living. You get a forward V-berth, a midship galley with deep sink and good storage, a large head with shower, and a quarter berth aft. Tankage is generous, about 90 gallons of water and 48 gallons of fuel. There are trade-offs. That comfortable motion comes at the expense of light air performance. The sail area to displacement ratio is in the mid-teens, so in gentle winds, the boat can feel sluggish. Owners often talk about adding large cruising spinnakers or poles to help off the wind. There are also known age-related issues. The deck uses polycore foam, which can delaminate on older boats. But overall, these boats are famously overbuilt. Solid fiberglass hulls, strong internal structure, and reliable Yanmar diesels with good access. On the used market, Island Packet 35s typically list between $60,000 and $100,000, depending on condition and upgrades. Well-equipped examples can push higher, sometimes into the low 6 figures. Next is Hallberg-Rassy 36. If Island Packet is American conservative cruising, Hallberg-Rassy is Scandinavian refinement. The Hallberg-Rassy 36 was built from 1989 to 2003 and designed by German Frères. It's a center cockpit cruiser with a moderate displacement of about 16,500 pounds and roughly 7,500 pounds of ballast. Nearly 600 were built, which tells you something right away. People trusted this design. From a solo handling perspective, the center cockpit is a major advantage. The helm is sheltered behind a windscreen, which makes a big difference in bad weather. Autopilots are common and essentially mandatory on boats like this. But once set up properly, owners describe the HR-36 as easy to manage alone. Under sail, the motion is steady and controlled. It heels more than a full-keel Island Packet, but it tracks well and recovers smoothly from gusts. The skeg-hung rudder adds directional stability, and the balanced helm makes off-wind sailing especially pleasant. Inside, the center cockpit layout shines. You get 2 private cabins, a forward V-berth and a large aft cabin under the cockpit sole. The saloon sits between them with a U-shaped dinette and straight settee. The galley is U-shaped and large enough to cook underway without bracing yourself constantly, Storage is excellent, ventilation is very good, and the interior has that classic Hallberg-Rassy mahogany finish that feels warm and solid. Maintenance-wise, Hallberg-Rassys have a strong reputation. Surveyors sometimes flag deck delamination around hardware or bridge deck joints, but the hulls are solid and the rudders are thick. Engines, often Volvo diesels, are appropriately sized and accessible. Pricing reflects all of this. Clean HR36s from the 1990s typically sell in the $100,000 to $150,000 range. Then we have Hallberg-Rassy 40. The HR40 sits at the premium edge of our under 40 list. The Hallberg-Rassy 40 is a serious offshore cruiser. Introduced in the mid-2000s, it displaces around 26,000 pounds with about 9,000 pounds of ballast. Under sail, the HR40 feels deliberate. It's not fast in light air, but it's well balanced. Testers noted that even under mainsail alone, the boat steers cleanly through tacks. Sail controls are within reach, side decks are wide and safe, and cockpit ergonomics are excellent. Motion offshore is what you'd expect from a heavy cruiser, damped, steady, and confidence-inspiring. The hard dodger, heating system, and abundant ventilation make it a true year-round boat. Inside, the HR40 feels like a much larger yacht. Bright salon, comfortable seating, large aft cabin options, forward V-berth, and a proper separate shower. The galley is U-shaped and well-suited for cooking underway. Maintenance is straightforward for a boat of this quality, though teak decks require care. Systems are robust, and the structural grid makes refits manageable. The catch is price. HR40S routinely list between $270,000 and $400,000 plus. If your budget is under $200,000, this boat is likely out of reach. Next is Nordic 40. The Nordic 40 is a very different kind of 40-footer. Designed by Robert Perry and built in Washington State, only about 32 were made between 1982 and 1991. It displaces around 18,000 pounds with just over 7,000 pounds of lead ballast. This is a fin-keel skeg rudder boat that sails more like a modern performance cruiser than a heavy traditional boat. It points well, turns sharply, and feels nimble. That deeper draft, about 6.5 feet, means better windward performance, but it also means you'll be choosier about anchorages. Motion offshore is described as smooth and silky. It's not as slow as a Tayana, but it doesn't slam either. One standout feature is water capacity, about 140 gallons, exceptional for a boat this size. Inside, the layout is practical and airy, with wraparound settees, aft galley, and forward V-berth. Joinery is traditional oak, and owners describe the space as comfortable rather than luxurious. Maintenance is generally simple. Solid fiberglass hull, conventional systems, and straightforward engines. The biggest downside is rarity. Some parts may require creative sourcing. Pricing is scattered due to limited numbers, but clean examples appear around $115,000. Then we have Pacific Seacraft Crealock / Tayana 37. If there's a boat on this list built for ocean comfort, this is it. The Tayana 37, also sold as the Pacific Seacraft Crealock 37, displaces about 22,500 pounds with 8,000 pounds of ballast. That's heavy by any standard. This is a long keel cutter. It doesn't spin on a dime, but once it's on course, it tracks like it's on rails, a huge advantage when you're alone. Motion offshore is extremely gentle. People describe it as slow, predictable, and calming in big seas. Tankage is outstanding, 90 gallons of fuel and 100 gallons of water. For solo cruising and living aboard, that's gold. Inside, the layout is functional and cozy. Forward V-berth, aft quarter berth, large saloon, and proper head with separate shower. Heavy teak joinery throughout. Surveyors recommend checking mast supports, ballast bolts, and fuel tank placement. Prices range widely, between $60,000 and $165,000, depending on age and refit level. Next in line is Passport 37. The Passport 37 is rare and refined. Designed by Robert Perry, only about 25 were built. Displacement is around 17,360 pounds with solid fiberglass construction. It sails well, balances nicely, and moves comfortably offshore. Interior layouts often include 2 cabins and 2 heads, rare in this size. Maintenance is usually excellent because owners tend to care deeply for these boats. Parts are high quality, but rarity can make replacements harder. Pricing reflects scarcity: $110,000 to $135,000. Finally, we have Catalina, 36, the pragmatic option in our list. Built in large numbers, easy to maintain, easy to find parts for. Displacement is lighter, around 13,000 to 14,000 pounds, and the boat feels livelier under sail. Handling is straightforward. Fin keel, spade rudder, and predictable behavior make it easy to dock solo. Motion offshore is more active than heavier boats, but manageable. The interior is open and bright, with good headroom, large galley, and multiple layout options. Maintenance is manageable, though surveyors often flag osmotic blisters and deck hardware leaks on older boats. Prices are attractive: $20,000 to $70,000, with many livable examples under $40,000. So under 40 feet, you can have a real, comfortable, capable liveaboard that's manageable solo. The real choice comes down to what you value most: slow motion comfort and big tanks, sharper performance and agility, or the lowest cost of entry with plenty of local support. If you've lived on any of these, tell us about your experience in the comments.